Hi everybody, and welcome back to Plastic Models by Regular Dude and part 2 of the Greif Buddy Build with Jim Deck. So, as mentioned in the previous video, the intro to this build, Jim Deck and I, Jim Deck of Shutter Ace, are building this Greif together. So this episode is where I actually get cracking on construction. So the first thing I'm going to do in this episode, I'm going to be doing steps 1, 2, and 3. So first of all, I'm going to need sprue A in my handy dandy cutters and start cutting off some of these wheels and stuff. So I need A16, A10. So let's get the A16s first, and that makes 6 sets. So I'm gonna do like I normally do with these these step-by-step videos, so as not to make them any longer and prolong the torture any more than necessary. I will demonstrate, if there are multiple items of the same type, I will demonstrate on a couple of them how I'm going to put them together, and then do the rest off camera. So we got our 5, I need one more. Oh, there's the other one. So we got 6 of the 16s, then we need 6 of the 10s. Put these over here. So if you're just tuning in, I did an intro video last week discussing this whole endeavor. It's a buddy build that Jim Deck recommended, and I will have a link to his channel below, whereupon he and I are going to both be building the exact same kit together, and we're going to try, and I think we've got to figure out how we can do it. Going to try and build it pretty much same stuff at the same time. That way it'll be fun for us, and it'll be kind of cool to see how two people tackle the same project in their own way. So what I'm doing here is I'm just cutting off all these little sprue attachment points. Now here's going to be my plug that I give for every video for the benefit of having really good cutters. Because if you have really good cutters and you can cut real close to the plastic, you avoid damaging stuff, and it minimizes cleanup. See, I can get this like right down there, and it's just, if any, it's just going to take a very little bit of sanding. Whoops. Now here's something else I'll tell you. It's another little, I don't want to say it's really a trick, but it's a little technique I like to use. On stuff like this, there is usually a side, so like where the sprue gate is right here, it's flush this way with the edge of this wheel. On this side, it's kind of set back from the edge of the wheel, and that's generally the way it'll be on larger parts. Some smaller parts, you can't really get around that. So what I like to do, especially when the sprue gates are this small, set the cutting edge on there, slide it down to where it bumps up against the surface of the wheel in this case, and clip it off, and it cuts it nice and flush, thereby potentially eliminating any need for excessive sanding and such. See, like that. Lovely. Because I don't like to sand any more than I have to. kind of a slug like that, I guess. I'm all about efficiency. See, just like that, all that. See, I've done this, what? This will be 11 wheels, and now 12 wheels that you've had to watch me cut off the edges. So there. So then, if there is any little bit of stubbliness, I take my sanding stick, in this case Infinity sanding sticks, which I really like. I'm glad I tried them. They've been very good. And I'm using 400 grit, and I'm just going to lightly hit the edge on there like that. Disappears. So that's what I'm going to do to all these wheels. Now that I'm not going to make you watch. So I'm going to sand these down and then come back and we'll assemble them. Alright, I got all the wheels cleaned up. So the next part is to glue them together. Now here is something to note. There are 2 pins there, so 2 indentations there. So that is the way you want to line them up. Now that's not really that much to actually line them up, so you're going to have to use your phalanges. That's fingers for all y'all out there that might not know. And make sure that they're lined up, okay, because you know they're not tight enough. You could get some wiggle there, so you want to just make sure that you keep them lined up. So I think for that, in order to eliminate any possibility of getting glue on the actual surface of the wheel, I'm going to use my thicker cement here, and I'm going to put just a little bit all the way around like that, to where it doesn't like go oozing out. Put it together like that. Okay, so there's that one. So one more to demonstrate. Now there are some ejector pin marks, but they're recessed. They're not protruding from the surface, so there's no need to sand those off because they're completely covered on both sides. You know, you'll want to look and make sure that there's no flash or anything like that sticking up. But since this is, you know, probably one of the original releases of this kit, there's not going to be much in the way of flash, so you don't have to worry about it being too much flash going on. As a matter of fact, when I was looking at it, when I was looking at the parts in my last video for the introduction, I didn't really see any flash on anything, so that is a good thing. Okay, so there's that one. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up all those, then we'll come back and move on to the drive wheels. Alright, so I've got all those wheels done. Now, kind of slide those aside, and now it's time to do the drive wheels. Now, it says be careful on the direction of the right and left cogs, so obviously they are different. Yeah, might be kind of hard to see, but it looks like the teeth kind of bend a certain way. So anyway, I'll just have to make sure that I pay attention to that and mark them appropriately. So the right sprocket wheel is A13 and A12. So A12 is the same on both of them, and then A13. So do the old cleanup thing on there. never see it in 100 years, but need to make sure it's looking groovy. All right, then we'll cut these off. Thusly. Use my small little practically worn out sanding stick here. These sanding sticks right here are pretty groovy, it's just they wear out really fast. The abrasive doesn't seem to stick well. Let's see, so that looks good there. Okay, so we got the same thing. We got to make sure that these ejector pin marks don't have an edge to them. I'm just doing this with this flat X-Acto blade here. It looks like there's a little bit right there. Nope, it's below the surface. These here look good. All right, so same thing. A couple of pins, a couple of holes, and they fit like that. So whenever I glue these together, I want to make sure that these pads are lined up across there. So I think I'll use this cement again. There we go. Make sure it's lined up. See how that looks. Okay, so we got the drive wheels finished. So then we're supposed to cut off some A11s here, which are the single road wheels. So here's something else. It tells you to be careful, pay attention to your wheels, but then they go to tell you that you got two different size axles. So you can't really mess them up. Isn't that just flippin' dandy? More dandy than a bucket of monkeys. Okay, so those go on there. That's not what I'm worried about right now. So the way these go is you get I forgot the A15s. Let's get those real quick like. Oh man, what a goober. So let me cut these A15s off. Okay, and finish those off with a little bit of a sand along the sprue gate there. So those are ready. So the next ones I need are A15, which are the inner part. And then get these finished off with a touch of a sander. All right. So we got all those. Now, as you can see, there are some ejector pin marks there. I'm not concerned about them because they're going to be on the inside of the wheels and they're going to be covered up by other wheels. So at this point, I kind of need to figure out what I'm going to do as far as paint. And this is one of those cases where, you know, you really need to you really need to plan, because whenever I build kits, armored kits, it's got to where I like to leave the running gear off till everything's painted, and then and even get the weathering, the basic weathering done behind here. Now, granted, again, you're not really gonna see a whole lot of what's going on behind there, but I like to make sure that it's pretty you know, pretty lined out. So I think what I'm going to do, okay, well, let's just do a test fit here of these things. So you get a road wheel, fits back here on the idler, on that axle, like that. So the first thing you got to do is you got to install these A15s. They go like there and there, whoops, on both sides. Then you take the wheels from step 1, which is parts A10 and A16, and those go there like that. Okay, then you take the A11s and they glue on top like that. So as you can see, we got a really crazy thing going on here, and if you're not careful, it can be all wobbly, a little weird looking. But here's my plan, and I'm gonna have to monkey around with it and see, but I'm thinking that I'm gonna paint all these wheels up first. Okay, all these road wheels, all this stuff. I'm gonna paint all these up, get them theoretically. I could glue these together, the A11 and 15. I could glue those together first and just kind of like link them together as I put them together. But what I'm wanting to do, hopefully, is I would like to paint these wheels up, get the tracks mostly together, and glue it all together and have it be one single unit. That way I could pull it off so I can do all my painting and everything and then put it back. And the reason I want to paint the wheels first is because I really don't want to have to deal with you know, trying to paint these things with a brush when I can make some masks for it. So I'm going to look at this for a minute and decide what I'm going to do. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint this stuff first. I'm going to paint these wheels even before I glue these together because I want the inside to be good. So the first thing I'm going to do whenever I paint stuff like this is I like to put a little blob of blue tack where the cement goes. Is it really necessary? Probably not, but I like to do it because I just like for my paint to go onto bare plastic. So I'm gonna monkey around with this, get this ready, and then what I'll do is I gotta decide if I want to put them on sticks or if I want to put it on tape. Be hard to put them on sticks with these since they protrude, but I can use my alligator clips. So yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna do. That is probably what I'm gonna do. Okay, here's the primer I'm going to use, and here is one of the things that just seems to be the bane of water-based acrylics. Now this is primer, but this is one of those things that happens with these things. Part of the stuff will start to cure, and you'll get this weird stringy goop that you really got to watch out for, because if you get any in your color cup, in your airbrush, you will definitely. It's one of those things that just really bums me out, makes me sad, because it's just annoying. But overall, I really like this kind of primer. It works really well. Just got to be careful. But anyway, this is the color I'm using. It's the Ammo One Shot Primer, brown oxide primer. Now, I got another bottle that I thought was going to be a little more red oxide for like German vehicles, but this one looks really brown too. Now maybe I'm just thinking that it's way more red on the real vehicles for the primer, but you know, just looks really brown. But you know what, this is what I'm using. I've got it, it works good, and it will serve my purposes wonderfully. Well, there we go, it's in the color cup. I'm using the Iwata HP M2 single action to do this, because I don't have to do any kind of weird finessing or anything like that. So just basically gonna prime these babies up, set them aside to dry, and then we'll go on to the next exciting part. Stuff really does cover good, and it's really good primer. All right, now that I've got the everything all primed that I need to prime for now, it's time to do some science, as Cave Johnson would say, and mix up some colors. So I'm gonna mix up some colors with Tamiya paints to see what kind of color I get for RAL 8000, which is the color that I have been told by some sources would be the best for this particular project. Now, whether or not it's correct 100%, I don't know, but that's what I'm doing, because that was some of the recommendations I got. Basically, the thinking is this. For the time period, this vehicle would have been shipped over in gray, Panzer gray, and it would have been oversprayed with RAL 8000, which I can't remember what it's called, Gankel Brune or something like that. I can't remember the exact color right now. But that would be the color that would have been oversprayed. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to mix some up really quick in my handy dandy little bottles and see what I can come up. So one of the formulas I got was XF59, which is desert yellow, which is also a color I was told could be used by itself, but this other color would make it even better. XF62, which is one of my personal favorites, olive drab, very common on US vehicles, and XF3, one part, which is yellow. So this should be interesting. So let's see, let's get out some of these handy dandy paint squeezer router things. Oh, real quick, I'm going to mix up all my paints in the jars. I'm not going to make you watch that, and then I'll actually throw out with the formula so we can see what we come up with. What's this I'm doing, you ask? Oh, sorry, should have explained. This is just some water so I can clean out my, I like to I know they're disposable, but I do like to, you know, be frugal when possible. So let me get my paint stirred up in the jars, and then we'll come back and actually mix up the formula. All right, so I'm ready to spray this stuff. Here's my mix, and I've already sprayed the XF59 on this side, just to see what it looks like in comparison. Now, here's some, give you real quick some of my thoughts on testing paint colors. In my opinion, it's best to try it out in a way that is going to most closely resemble the way you're going to apply it to your model. So oftentimes you'll see people, and I'm not saying this is wrong, it's just the way I think, they'll spray it on some, you know, white plastic, like evergreen plastic, styrene or whatever, or they'll spray it on a spoon, a white, you know, ice cream spoon or fast food spoon, whatever it is. And I don't think that that will really give you a good, if you're just doing it just to see what it looks like, you know, that's one thing. But if you're trying to see how it's going to look on your model, I think, in my opinion, it's best if you try and as closely replicate what you're trying to do as possible. In this case, now obviously this is brown, more of a brown than that. That's more of a red. But it's a little bit closer than just spraying it on plain white plastic. So that's why I'm spraying it on this, to kind of see what it's going to look like. And I'm spraying it pretty opaque too, so, you know, I guess in that, you know, respect, it doesn't really matter that much. But that's just, you know, my thoughts on the thing. But anyway, using my handy dandy squeeze bottles here, I'm going to spray this stuff on there and see what it looks like. So got it all mixed up, and here we go. Let's see what we got here. Okay, that looks to be pretty opaque. I'm going to let that dry for a second, then I'll just, you know, use the rest in my color cup to spray it some more, because I did spray the other one pretty opaque, so that'll give me a good idea of what it's going to look like. All right, so here's what we have. So right here is XF59 Desert Yellow. This down here, I believe it's my Dark Yellow 2 XF88, which is the newer Tamiya Dark Yellow. And then this is my mix. And this, at first I was kind of concerned because it looked a little bit greenish, but once it dried completely, that's kind of the color I imagined it, and it looks really close to the color that somebody posted on a forum. Now granted, monitors, colors, differences of therein, and blah blah blah, I understand that, but this looks more like what I'm wanting, I think. So I think I'm going to use this mix for the RAL 8000. So with that in mind, I can start painting the wheels. Okay, so I forgot to, I don't think I said what the actual formula was. So let me give it a rundown real quick. For RAL 8000, from my source on the internet, which I can't remember right now, so this is not mine, it's not original. 59, XF59, 8 parts. XF62, 2 parts. XF3, 1 part. Multiply it accordingly to get a bigger batch if you need. So with that, and then I mixed it up with about 25% thinner. No, about 50% thinner. So it's not real super thin, but it's not real thick either, which I guess makes sense. If it's not one, it's not the other. So anyway, now I'm ready to start painting these things. So we'll get everything ready and come back. Okay, with all that preamble and all that blabbing about paint out of the way, let's apply some RAL 8000 on these here wheels and such. So let me drop some in my color cup. And if I haven't said so before, these bottles are just stellar. I like them way better than the Vallejo bottles, because you can shake them up and they don't leak out, or at least most of the time they don't leak out of the top of the little spout thing, as long as you know, screw them in good. So let's see. All right, let me get a little bit more. Okay, so we're ready to go here. So let's start painting some of these. Alright, that concludes that, so I can clean my airbrush. Okay, now with all the wheels painted, it's time to start working on the tracks, and I gotta figure out how I'm going to approach this. So as I actually, before I get to that, I think I'm going to paint the rubber portion of the wheels black before I get all crazy with the laying out the suspension and everything. So let me get my paint ready here. Now for this, I'm actually going to be using a new paint. I've heard a lot of stuff about the 3rd generation AK acrylic modeling colors. So I thought I'd try a bottle of rubber black. Brand new formula, 3rd generation. So we'll see how it works. And what I will do is, using my handy dandy lid here, I'll use that to actually paint it. And supposedly it should be good right out of the bottle. So let's get a wheel here and we'll see how it does. Oh, I already had one out. What do you know? Okay, so first gotta choose a brush. Let's go with this one. Alright, so let's take a look. Well, it shakes well without it coming out all around the edges there. So let's put a little bit. This looks a little bit thicker than Model Air, but not near as thick as Model Color. So let me get some water here for wetting my brush and cleaning it if need be. I find that acrylics tend to dry on the brush. So let's take a look and see what happens. Wow. Well, I gotta say, so far, so good. It's covering really well, quite opaquely. And the viscosity seems really good. Alright, so there we go. Well, just on a real quick first use here, I'm gonna say it's pretty dandy stuff. Now I gotta determine if I'm gonna paint the inside edges because that is where I could run into trouble. I wonder how visible those are going to look. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint this part here, the outward facing part, and then I'll determine if I need to paint the inside because it may not even be visible. So I'm going to go ahead and work on these and see what happens. Okay, so I got all the wheels, the drive wheels, all that kind of stuff is now painted with rubber black, 3rd generation AK acrylic modeling colors. I really like these, and I think I will be, as I use up my other colors, I think I'm going to be drifting into these. Really like them. All right, enough of that. So let's see. So what I have to do is I have to determine how I'm going to set all this up. So getting my instructions again, let us get these things here and put them in place, and let's take a look at how it's going to go together. So this one goes, oh, whoops, these actually go on first. So we got those. Then we have that, and that, and then this goes on top. And get the blue tack out of there. Okay, that goes there. So yeah, I think I'm okay without having to paint the inside of those because the tracks are going to cover that up. So now I need to get the tracks and start getting those cut out, start getting them glued together. Now what I'm going to try and do, and wish me luck, is I think I'm going to try and do these like magic tracks and kind of glue them together, dragon magic tracks that is, try and glue them together and kind of wrap them around everything, but I don't know how. The trick is, yeah, see, those don't actually touch to where I could glue all those together, so I'm gonna have to figure this out. So they're saying to cut out all these parts. Now this is the top run first. So let's see. The first thing I think I'm going to do, since I can put this together like that, is I'm going to go ahead and glue these ones that are separate. I'm going to glue those together first because if I'm careful, I can put them together like this. I don't have to really worry about putting those on top, because if this is together, I can just kind of put them together and drop them into place. So I'm going to glue those together first. So in order to do that, I am going to use my Tamiya extra thin, but not quick setting, just the regular. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put these together like this. drop some right in there like that. Squeeze it together. Make sure it's lined up. Make sure that it is even all the way around. That's the tricky part. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to carefully set that down. I'll let them set for a little bit and I'll check them again because I'll have some time to work with them if I need to, as far as adjusting them and making sure that they're parallel. Okay, that looks good. Let's check this one, make sure it's, yeah, that looks good. Whoa, almost rolled off. Just kind of roll them across the thing and make sure they're not going like this as they roll. That looks pretty good. Okay, so we gotta let those set up good. Okay, so let me get the other ones and do those. Get all the goop out. That's pretty grody. It's like a blue booger. Almost. Definitely don't want to be trying to cement these things together with any of that in there. That would be a not good thing. Wow, it's being stubborn. There we go. All right, so there's that. So now I can put these together same way. So I don't know if you noticed, but in putting the blue tack does two things. Number one, it allows my toothpick to stick really well, and also it provides a mask of sorts, so I get two clean mating surfaces for the cement to do its magic. Looks pretty good. So we'll let those dry a bit. Okay, I have my track parts cut out. I got my wheels here, but before I get too crazy, I need to glue a couple of parts on before I forget. And they are A17, and those are the idler tension adjusters. So I need to get those installed first, because if I forget those, it may be tough to get them on after I get all that running gear in. And I'm still pondering what I'm going to do, and I haven't had to ponder this much in a long time, because I don't know if I should go ahead and prime and paint, or paint this lower part, actually glue the wheels in place, and then put the tracks on, or try and do it loosely, or what. So I'm going to keep thinking about that while I'm gluing these little parts on here. figure out what I'm going to do. Now, here's an interesting thing. Now, I don't know how much you guys look at stuff like this while somebody's building something on a YouTube video, but the mold seam lines are very, very faint. And so far, I've only seen one little bit of flash, and that was on one of the track links. So that kind of says a lot about this kit. And the fact that it is an old boxing of this kit. I mean, I don't know how many of these things they did, how many they do in a run, but whoops, oh my goodness, they this is definitely some good what you call mold quality. Very good mold quality. There is like no, you can tell these molds were still new when this kit was actually manufactured. This particular kit, the one I'm working on right now, not just the kit in general, but and man, it sure makes a difference when the kit is in good shape. It makes it a lot easier not having to mess with a bunch of cleanup and stuff like that. And what's really annoying is when you get a kit that's been around for a while, that's had lots of kits pumped out of a particular mold. You get where, looking at the cross section, say these parts right here, if you were to look at it from the end, instead of it being round with a very faint mold seam line to deal with, you'll get now this is greatly exaggerated just for illustration purposes, but you'll get the idea. You'll get this to where even if you do clean these lines up, you're going to end up with some kind of weird oval shape instead of, you know, a round shape. So it's like when the molds go together, instead of going together perfect, they kind of go together and are slid a little bit for some reason, just from wear or whatever. So, you know, that's what's nice about getting a kit that's been, and you know, I don't think it's that common with Tamiya kits, because they really seem to take care of their molds and stuff. And like if you get a reissue of a kit that say has extra stuff, you know, like some photo etch added, you know, updated parts or whatever, they must you know, freshen up the molds so you still get a good quality kit. Why am I blabbing about all that? I don't know. I'm just stoked. Old kit. That's why don't poo-poo a kit and just write it off because it's old. Just because it's old doesn't mean it's not going to be a good kit. Case in point. So I'm going to do what drives me insane. I put the glue on. It's all evaporating while I'm monkeying around trying to fit the part in place. Oh man. But fret not, I'll put some more cement on there. Man, those little tiny parts can be really tricky ticky-tacky sometimes. Just put a little bit more cement in there like that. See, that would have been a pain to try and do that with all of the running gear in place. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so there's that. All right, so now back to this dilemma. I was hoping these parts would have been a little more close fitting, touching kind of, because then I could have just like put a little dab of super glue and had just one big piece and it would have been easy, but that's not the case. And these joints on these tracks are pretty fine, and I don't want to take too much risk of melting through these with cement by applying and reapplying cement to create the flexing that I need. So I may just have to bite the bullet here, paint this stuff, and actually glue the running gear in place. Didn't really want to do that, but I may have to. Okay, so here is what I came up with. I was able to basically do everything I wanted to do. And this is how I did it. So, like, none of these wheels are glued on. None of them are glued, you know, to each other. The tracks are cemented together, at least for step 3, you know, the upper portion. That's done. And I'll be able to paint the tracks separately from this. So I'll be able to paint the kind of sequence I want, which is to paint and weather, then attach the wheels, then attach the tracks, and then weather all that together. So here is what I did. This is all one jolly piece right there. So I'm going to demonstrate what I did using the other side. So we'll put those over there. We'll put this on here. None of them have to be glued or tacked or anything weird like that. I can just, and I was correct that I can assemble these as one piece and not have to do it like the instructions show, which is basically you put a lower road wheel and you put the back half of this wheel in place, the other double road wheel, or yeah, I'm losing it. So this one goes first, then you're supposed to put this half down, then you put this to where this part is back there. You do it there as well. Then you take the top part and glue it into place on top. You don't have to do that. Well, that was painful. You just put them together like this, and oh, with much wailing and gnashing of teeth. Come on, I just put this together no problem a minute ago. Whoa, what the? First you got to put them in the right spot, like that. Then you put it there. That's what happens when you video stuff. It's gonna lose track. Oh man, it's painful to watch, guys, because it's sure painful to do. Holy cow, I did not have this much trouble off camera. Holy flippity cow. Alrighty then. Oh my goodness. There we go. Okay, so we'll set that right there for now. Okay, so I cut off all the pieces, which are 4 A24s, A9, A7, A9, and 2, 4, 6 A24s. Okay, but we're doing the other side, so this is like flipped. Okay, so first thing you got to do is you glue the first 4, and I'd actually demonstrated that, but my camera was out of whack. So let me show you how I do it on these. Basically, I take on these links right here, there's an indentation here and here for the next link, like that. Okay, so what I do is using Tamiya extra thin quick setting. Use your glue of choice, but I like this because it is quick setting. Just put a little dab there, a little dab there, and then take the part before it evaporates too much and you stick it on there. And you want to have it at an angle, not too much of an angle, but a little bit of an angle. But if it's, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect because you can move it around, and because it's quick setting, it's going to set up really quick. So I'm going to set that there, so that'll come later. So that's what I did with the front portion. Okay, now keep in mind you got to keep it going in the right direction. So in this case, they're supposed to go that direction. Okay, I'm just doing mine backwards because it's easier because I'm right-handed. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and orient these correctly. And then as I pick them up, I'll be doing them backwards, so hopefully it won't get too confusing. Okay, so you got this. So then I'm going to take this drive wheel here with my shaky, tweezered hands and then check the fit. So as you can see, you can kind of get the curve going on here just by bending them around the sprocket. Okay, so once you have the curve that you need, just take, and I'm going to use tweezers so I don't get any big old nasty fingerprints on them. And I'm just going to put a little dab in each one just to reinforce it. If any of you have done magic tracks, you'll know this is a way that you can do this kind of stuff. So we got that. So let's let that dry for a sec. Okay, then the next part is take this here and do the same thing. Except that one fits really tight, so I'm just going to put that there and then just put my cement on it. Like that. Like that. So we'll let that dry a little bit. Alright, so the next part is to do the same. So we'll get this. Get the cement. Put it together. And it's got to have just a little slight bit of curve to it to make the sag. You don't want it too much though, because it looks kinked. It can look kind of funny. So for this one, I'm going to set it down like this to dry. So this one I was able to put together, and I can cement it. These things fit together really tightly, so it's kind of nice. And again, you want just a very slight bit of flex to it. Like that. Now, one thing you got to watch for is on some of these longer ones, they can get kind of crooked looking. So you got to make sure that you keep them straight this way. You don't want any weird kinks. See, it's getting a decent bit of sag to it, so let that dry for a sec. And now the last part is to glue all these small links onto the back in a curved fashion for the idler wheel. So I'll do the first one here, and then I'll do the rest of them just like I did the front. There's no need in showing you all of them again. But of course you want to make sure that there's no flash or anything weird, so that fits okay. So we put a little touch there, a little touch there. Put that there. That crazy woman is my wife having a conversation with my granddaughter via FaceTime. So, you know, don't be worried or scared or anything. Nothing untoward or weird is going on. There's no violence or anything. All right, so there's the first one. So I'm going to continue working on these, make that other curved part, and then we'll come back. So now I'm going to glue the last little section here that I glued at the beginning so you can see how it goes together. Whoops. And the one I put earlier didn't stick very well, so I'm going to have to re-glue that. But you know what's awesome? I can do that right now. Woo! So let's change over to this link. Okay, now here's the nice thing. So let's get this tacked on here like that. So here's the nice thing about using this type of cement. Because even though it dries, you know, dries up, cures up, whatever you want to call it, you can kind of reactivate it. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's see how close these are. Those are pretty stinking close. This one could stand a little bit more bend. Right there. Because that's the one that goes around the idler. So let me get the idler, the other idler, and we'll just, oh, crikey, kind of test fit it. Trying to be careful with, oh my goodness, I'm trying to be careful with that. Yep, so we got a good curve there. Okay, so that is like really, really super close to the other one. So since I know it fit on the other side, I don't have to worry about test fitting on this side. But what I did was I basically, once it was dry, I just took it like this and just set it on top. Now I'm not going to go through the hassle of getting it completely on there. Well, yeah, I will. Well, this one is going to fight me again, so that is just annoying. When I don't do this stuff on video, it just works like a champ. And when I try and do it on video, it is nothing but trouble. Oh my goodness. See, I can't even get the thing on there. Oh, frustration, frustration. HG, if you're watching, this is making me sad. All right, so now it's back on there. So hopefully it'll stay. And yes, there's sarcasm in my voice. So let's gently put that on the drive wheel and put that there. Okay. Wowzers. You can see what I'm trying to do. I'm getting ready to stop right now because it's getting on my nerves. Okay, there we go. So that's there. And that's following the contour of that wheel. I'm not even going to try and I keep saying that, but I do it anyway. Okay, there we go. See? So that fit. Oh, there we go. So you see how that fit on there? It's barely touching on those road wheels. It's wrapped around the front and the back. So we are good to go. So what I can do now is set that aside like that. And either one will work for either side. So anyway, those are done. So what I can do now is I can set these, I can put these drive wheels and road wheels in my drive wheel and road wheel subassembly box like this. Okay, the tracks, they won't fit in here. So I'm going to carefully set those on the back edge of my desk out of harm's way. All right, so that is that. All right, and with the completion of the tracks, that completes the first video of the build portion of Buddy Build with Jim at Sdkfz. So I've completed 1 through 3 with the exceptions, with the exception that I did not glue the wheels on, and I've not glued the tracks on top of the wheels. So when you see Jim's video, it should be similar. He's going to do 1, 2, and 3, and we'll see how he does his. Next time, we'll be doing the next page, which is steps 4, 5, and 6, which is finishing the lower part of the tracks, getting those ready, the toe pintle, and then 5 and 6 are the front suspension components. So thanks for following along on video 2, part 1 of the actual build portion. Thanks for following along. Don't forget to come back for the next episode of the Greif build, and don't forget to check out Jim's Sdkfz channel and watch the rest of this. I'm going to go ahead and put a link. I'm probably in every video I'll put a link to Jim's channel, the person I'm doing the Buddy Build with, in case you catch the build midway through. You'll be able to see who I'm doing the Buddy Build with. So as always, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. And if you have any hints, tips, suggestions, comments, complaints, any of that kind of stuff, please leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you all later.